Well, thank you for coming today. I'm going to introduce our panelists before we jump right in. So first off, we have Courtney Van. Courtney is a pre-K teacher at the Cherokee Immersion School, which is just down the hall here. She's dedicated to helping the youngest learners connect with the Cherokee language. She also lends her voice to Cherokee language media. She voices the character Galadriel in the Cherokee language dub of The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. She's passionate about bringing the Cherokee language to life through storytelling, animation, and mainstream media. She blends her love of teaching with her work in voice acting and to inspire a new generation of speakers. So give her a round of applause here. Next, we have Ethan Wynn. Ethan is from Briggs, Oklahoma. He is a graduate of the Cherokee Immersion School and a proud learner of the Cherokee language. He graduated from Sequoia High School and attended Oklahoma State University, where he earned a degree in marketing. He currently works at the Durban Film Language Center as an audio engineer, voice actor, and part-time director for their dubbing projects. He was inspired to pursue this work due to his love for cartoons, animation, and the Cherokee language. So, did you get your applause? And next up, we have Elise Siler. Elise was born and raised in Miami, Oklahoma, and obtained a degree from the University of Oklahoma in art, technology, and culture in 2022. Elise interned with Cherokee Film while a student at OU and for a while after graduation. Cherokee Film hired them as a technical animator for the XR production team to focus on motion capture, character and creature rigs, and digital cinematography. You will now find Elise leading the wonderful and amazing animation team at Cherokee Film as animation production manager. When Elise is not at work, you can find them reading at home, spending time with their fur babies, attending concerts with their best friend, or creating artwork for video games. So, a round of applause. So today we'll be talking quite a lot about this partnership that Cherokee Film has with the Cherokee Language Department. As Kevin mentioned, I worked for the Cherokee Language Department for quite some time. A big part of that was trying to develop media in Cherokee language. It's always been like a passion of mine to get to this, so it's been pretty great to be able to work with all these great people, including all these people here. I've worked closely with them over the last couple of years. We did a lot of work with translators to ensure this content is accurate. We work with a lot of second language learners, like from the Master Apprentice program. So these projects we're going to be showing it's a true collaboration with community members and members of the language department, the language team, the Cherokee Film team. So it's been a really great collaboration. So the first thing that we'll get into is dubbing. You may have heard that the Cherokee, there's a Cherokee language version of the Rings of Power that's being developed at the moment. One episode was completed last fall. We debuted that at the SCOSTICon event here in Tahlequah. Production on that continues. I'm trying to see if our director and other people are here. I can't really tell the lights in my eyes, but Sarah Osawi is our director. She's been really great at that. Larry Carney's been an audio engineer along with Ethan here. So we've kind of been diving right in and getting all this voice talent. So most of the talent on this project are from the Cherokee Language Department. A lot of it comes from the Master Apprentice program. Some of them are first language Cherokee speakers that work for the department, while others are just community members out there that are in the language and have done this kind of work before or have expressed an interest in it. So it's been really fun watching this talent come together, because we know as a Cherokee community, there's always a lot of great talent out there. So if anyone's ever interested in this kind of line of work, just feel free to reach out to us, because we got so many projects. We need a lot of voices and a lot of talent on this. So I'm going to start off with a couple of clips here from Rings of Power. This first clip is a scene with Galadriel, the elf, talking to Elrond from the Rings of Power TV series. If you've not seen it, it's on Amazon Prime. There's 2 seasons of it out now. Currently, we're doing a dub for season 1. But this clip showcases Courtney showing us some of her dramatic chops here. And after that, we'll play a clip of Ethan showing some of his voice acting on that project as well. So we'll dive right in. And this is each one's a couple minutes. So.
Jijak teleso na. Asedan jijeli histi.
Awali histis. Galia li klaji chan just anikonye kesa. La chuko hayek akikoa.
Squeeze Akigo na.
Hes chuko hayek la hiu akikoa. La yiga slasko uyong. Aktia. To yinotan do yutikewe. Yinostas.
He ini nesta. Det der nawe la do job tia. Hiwata do histat stella sawu ugol oke hila la oshiti elan. Skutna yidijanad.
La yakilitas.
Asen yidijanad anison anidawe yueji helit widigani yohuska. Jasasko jayohito di eli ni jadanela. Halana ni est uni yohisti. La no kilo yidayele. Nadagawu la taline yidagalos elisti. Ahaniu hehest. Ulsika. Uyo no hatlegiskesti.
Ta jehlesti wini kwastaneti una. Kanokisti no unelukka kataki. Awadaseko kikesanika akuskanyak ena ayer elo. Ase no do daski hielis. Akwe hestes. Una. Gokeyi nikohila. Gado nakwe hesti.
No atohia dandi gesa. Uwas naski jaluloche ha gajadiust. We sai. Go tu istane. You know oni no he ha diukta ganye kadela osk. Slay gagaweso let's kill diukta ni ganela. Elu iga de hotli galadria. To nadaga.
Skiptige hanjek do nawatant.
Nigola jinjasta. Ginali.
All right, well, that's one clip here. The next clip is of the elf named Arondir kind of coming into town and going into a bar, and it's kind of a hostile environment, so you can kind of see this little scene play out. But again, Ethan is our main voice in this scene here.
Dahi uke.
Dahis, gavya.
Eli Owasso nu tatanele. Around there. Gayula ketal do the was the galoson.
Doda.
Gayo slida kano head no gesa. Dun to your $3. Need to you dana jukola dandiska. O see with that stick it go who's the hanustana. Patlin egg jagesa. Again, ha dula ha. A sky can negesa do cutna again no. A detas these jadilling. Honey get do hest ye jadilling.
Nana dahi.
Dahi ke?
Na chino heska.
Taskinatla yik dahi kanula sa Georgie no he ha. Sky o go set lo gesu dun. Kanula mo yitata.
Na sky. Atla julosa.
Tano de kanagati.
Dole.
O we the care the ghost die tili. Flago hoste jugo was the ye hikato. Flesti na sawu yaga yali jinun sta you know gusta. Hilahi you do the giosico hignostana.
Kohik jigesa. Sine gosti diso.
Flahia. Do you go with you? The got luchi. Toyo guda lesina iski nasla.
Lagi tohi nadanga.
Come here, we dudes.
Go who's this one?
Well, I'd like to ask Courtney first to give us a few thoughts about what it was like doing this and kind of how you got into it and that kind of thing.
It's on. Testing. Can y'all hear me?
Yes. I think we need a mic. Try this.
Okay. Well, our director, Ostage, I was in the adult learning program with her, and she had me in mind to just audition, and I didn't know I would get Galadriel, and that was that was a big task. It still is, because we're still working on it. But I've always liked entertainment. You know, when I was younger, I wanted to go to New York and audition for Saturday Night Live. And but, you know, I went into education, and I went to Cherokee, and then somehow, you know, entertainment and Cherokee kind of combined with this project. So that was cool, like a full circle. But man, doing dubbing in Cherokee is hard, but not impossible, as you can see, because in the moment when you're trying to say the words right, because it's in a very tonal language, you're trying to say it right, have the emotion there, and the director has to tell you to not focus so much on the Cherokee words because you're trying to, you know, get it right, but you're trying to have the emotion and trying to stay in character. And so all of that combined, it's pretty tough, but you know, when you watch it and hear it, it's very rewarding. And so that's how it was like.
All right. Well, next we'll have a question for Ethan. So I know Ethan has, you know, doing the voice acting too, but he's also taking this role of audio engineering and even directing some of this. So talk a little bit about that too, your experience on how you got involved and what it's like doing that.
It can be overwhelming sometimes, especially because, you know, I went to school for marketing, so not necessarily in the school for like the arts or anything like that. But I think it just like, it's really cool when you like see people like LaQueg, like kind of like following their dreams in a weird way, but kind of like seeing how passionate they are about the projects that they're working on and how passionate they are about the language. And then we'll get the speakers in there when I'm working with them, either if I'm directing or audio engineering. You get to see like these speakers kind of like light up a little bit because they get to kind of apply the Cherokee and their language in a different way that they may have not applied in their life. On the voice acting side of things, it gets pretty, I would say, overwhelming still, just because you're having to focus on all these different, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, just all these different things you have to focus on. Am I delivering it correctly? Am I saying the Cherokee correctly? Because I really want to focus on like bringing, you know, making sure that I'm respecting the language and saying it correctly, but also respecting the art that's in front of me and making sure I'm kind of like capturing both of those essences at the same time. And I think that's a thing that's kind of like looked over sometimes. I'm not saying that we've received any really big critiques of this project, but like I think a lot of people kind of don't have that kind of insight about the projects that we work on and everything. And so it's just kind of like cool to kind of see. It's rewarding too, though. Like it's very cool and rewarding to see like both sides of it, where like I worked on it, I got to edit all these things, and even watching that, I was like, oh, maybe, you know, a little tighter of a sync there, but that was the first real big project I worked on, so giving myself a little bit of grace, but like kind of seeing like the progress that I've made with that was really cool, but kind of like, I don't know, just like how much I've learned from it was really cool, and so yeah, just
Yeah.
whole lot of yapping. I lost steam.
So a big part of this, you know, Ethan alluded to it, dubbing, it's more than just translating what's on screen. If you notice, if you're familiar enough with the language, some of the subtitles don't exactly match what's being said, like in Cherokee, and that's because you have to adapt the script for that community. So sometimes some of these ideas don't come across just straight across the board. So we spend a lot of time with translators, first language speakers, trying to figure out how would you say this in Cherokee where it still makes sense in Cherokee. So it's not losing the spirit of it, but still maintaining the intent, the artistic intent of the actual script writers. So like working with Amazon MGM, who owns this property, they make sure that, you know, they give us some leeway to change some of the dialogue a bit, but still not enough where it's going to change the meaning of the story or even the plot. So we have to make sure that we kind of stay in those boundaries. And the other aspect of it is syncing what's on screen. So you may have seen some of the bad syncs before with like martial arts movies and things where the mouth doesn't match what's going on. we're trying to avoid that as much as we can because dubbing's become a very large business. If you watch a lot of things like streaming on Netflix or Hulu, or whatever, at the end of the TV show or the movie, you'll notice they have a credits in other languages at the end. And what they're doing, that's dubbing. They're dubbing these in other languages across the world. So we were fortunate that we got to go out to Los Angeles and go to several of these studios, and they showed us the process of what dubbing is. So they've been working very closely with the language team to train them on how to make sure these syncs are done well and done right. So again, it's more than just lining up the words or translating it directly. It's just it's a skill. And as Ethan said, it is an art form. You know, it's very, you got to take some creative liberties and things like that. And so it's been a huge learning curve for the team. And again, everyone's still learning this process. We're getting better as they go. So I know, like for Courtney, I wanted to ask you about, I know you've done little things like this before. I've seen some of your YouTube videos where you do songs in Cherokee, like from TV shows and movies and stuff too. That's kind of how we found you too. We're like, hey, she could kind of do this kind of thing. But what's it like on the acting side of things? Like, what kind of challenges do you have when they're saying like, hey, let's say this line in Cherokee? And I know you got to do it multiple times and kind of talk a bit about that.
Well, it is fun. You know, acting in general is fun because you're someone else and you bring that intensity or that calmness. And Ethan, you know, since he's directing, he helped me out a lot when I struggle with trying to get a word right or trying to say it right. And I keep messing up. And then my real voice would come out and it wouldn't be Galadriel because my voice has to change. And we'd be listening to it and then it'd be like, oh, that's Leequeg. That's my Cherokee name. Like, that's not Galadriel. That's Leequeg. Do it again. So it's just tapping into that place of the character and not doing it so much because they could tell when I was tired or my voice was giving out, then I had to take a break. But it is fun, and I would encourage anybody, like this is our first time doing anything like this, and we are still learners of the language, and so I encourage everybody and anybody. A lot of the words, my grandma is the one that translated scenes for Galadriel. So a lot of the words I didn't even know how to pronounce, so I needed help from a speaker, and so it was just all a new experience. But it's so fun. It is fun, and it's rewarding, especially to see that and see the first full episode all the way through. It's rewarding and fun.
So for Ethan, we mentioned in his bio a bit, but he is a graduate of the Cherokee Immersion School. So it's really cool to see someone coming back and giving back after going through all that. Can you talk a little bit about your connection to the language part of it and why this is important to you?
Yeah, so as he mentioned, I am a graduate of the Immersion School, was part of the second graduating class in 2012, I believe. It's so far back, I can't remember it. But and so the language has always been part of my life, especially in those first 12 years of my life. And I think something that like kind of brought me back to this work was, one, I needed a job, but two, I just kind of, I remember being young and like, you know, me and my brothers, or me and Sonoy, who's out in the crowd right now, like we'd be out in like the playground, you know, we were big anime nerds, and so like Dragon Ball Z and everything, and like trying to speak like, yeah. And so like trying to like find ways to say things, you know, in Cherokee that relate to those shows and everything. And so when I had heard about this work, and it just kind of like, it just felt like the perfect storm almost. It was just kind of, I'm still like pinching myself every day that I get to work on things like this, because it's like a blend of everything that I was interested in growing up and things I'm still interested in, but also get to mix in my love for the language as well, and kind of like that language revitalization and give back to the community and give it to some of these, give it to these kids as well, for them to enjoy. So yeah.
Yeah, so I've seen a few other people in the audience that actually were in this, like Wyman Kirk, see him in the back. He was one of the voice actors in this. And you mentioned Sonoy. We're utilizing him for some projects too. I don't know if he remembers this, but about 20 years ago when I was in grad school, I can't believe it's been that long, but I did a short animation in Cherokee language, and he was in the voices in that. So he's been at this a long time. Yeah, so again, the goal is to get the community involved in this. As you all know, Cherokee language is endangered. There's a lot of things that are happening that are positive, you know, they're kind of getting back on track, but we're still a long ways from that. And one of the things that's been missing from that for the longest time is a really strong media presence in terms of like content it's more than just educational, but it's entertaining too, and getting this kind of engaging content to the people. So we're hoping that these kind of projects can actually get more of that going. And there's some things happening that I can't really talk about at the moment, but in the near future, there will be more things like this coming out. And again, if there are people out there that want to do this kind of work, especially the voice acting, there's so many voices that we need. There's a lot of different parts. There are people, we need the audio editors, engineers, directors. We need all this talent. So if there's anyone out there, again, we're looking for these kind of people because it's growing and it's really engaging work. Do either of you have anything else to add?
Just don't be scared to try it. I think that was a big thing that we both kind of learned on this project. LeQueg with acting and everything, but for me it was just kind of like I'm more on I guess the director side. It was new. I've never really told anybody to do anything before in my life.
He liked bossing us around.
So, it was kind of you put yourself out there and they're trusting you to make sure you're steering them in the right direction, and you don't want to let them down is a pretty heavy way to put it, but you don't really want, you don't want to let them down. You want to make sure that they can do the best that they can. But what that kind of insight gave me was just you can't be scared to try things. You got to go out there and try it. And so if any of you guys are interested in this, just go for it. Just try it and everything. I think we're a pretty positive group. We're a pretty accepting group and a pretty easygoing group. So even if you grand speaker or, don't know anything about the language, I would always suggest to try this out. So yeah.
Yeah, because even some of the people that are just learning in our adult program are involved in it. So even if you're a beginner learner, just even know your colors, numbers, whatever, and you are interested in voice dubbing or, like you said, at directing, anything, even if it's that little interest, just go for it. See if you like it. If you don't, then try something else. But if you do, then we got you forever.
Yeah, well, with that, we're going to transition into this other arena that we're involved in. It's still with the language department. We work very closely with them, but in animation. So there's a couple of threads going on. One is, you may have seen the Let's Talk Cherokee series on OCO TV. It's on the OCOTV.tv website if you want to watch all that. But in most recent seasons, it's kind of transitioned from kind of a static, language lesson to more of an animated series with the plots and things like that. It still has the lessons involved, but it became a more advanced project with doing motion capture animation and 3D animation, blending with live action. So it's been a really great, I guess, step forward in how the language lesson appears on the series. So I'm going to show an episode of Let's Talk Cherokee. It's called The Fry Bread Eaters. That recently won a Heartland Emmy Award for the team, so we're very proud of that. And after we show this little clip, I'll ask Elise to talk about their experience on working with the animation team on this.
Go hidia rotna, usuche kassa. Teka tosta, ana te yola taski.
Kada ist anda yala taski tejalakti.
Tani ye tagilakti. Nihi na ha.
Juolti tagilakt.
Ogilakta, koi ganista na gardu.
Good go, Starsies.
Skastas.
Hati iskastasi.
Saha ikisko po ikanistana. Tadiu jakiskoha.
Tanis.
Lesti hiska hest.
Har du någonstans mig dit?
I said, I'll stay really.
Ineno. Utan sailor då det Louise då ten.
Laigeliska naski julstoti.
Aquaduli aquanikisti.
Nagar ikaluli agana geest.
Ta elehiu goiganisana gadu yigachika.
Tago ihatan jigoa. Jinahnagi. Osio, today we got to be in an imaginary scary movie. As Cherokees, one of our important values is to help one another. We'll start with one of our cultural values, watch over one another. Dejidak se stesti. De, ja, da, ga, se, s, de, s, di. Dejidak se stesti. Next, let's learn, what kind of movies do you like? Ga de ust ana dayele taski de jelokti. Ga, do, u, s, di, a, na, da, ye, la, da, s, ki. De, ja, la, go, di. Kada ust anadayala tuski de jelokti. Finally, let's learn to say, I like the scary ones. Digan yeg dagilokti. Di, ga, na, ye, gi. Da, gi, la, guo, di. Digan yeg dagilokti. Good job. Don't forget to practice these words and use them with your family and friends.
So I need to give a shout out to the cast on that. We have Colleen Doherty, who works at the language department as the character named Sinas. She's the one wearing the rabbit ears. The little girl, that's her daughter named Nell. She's an immersion school student. The brother character named Willie, that's Riker Six Killer. He works at Cherokee Film. He also does a lot of stunts and motion capture work. So that really tight-knit cast does a really great job in all this. And so, again, we work with the language department, the translators, to make sure the script is good. We've run it a few times, and we work with Ethan. He's been recording a lot of this for us, too. So, again, it's a very close partnership. But now I want to turn to Elise, and can you tell us more about this whole process? It's very unique, especially with the game engine and all that. So I'll let you.
Engine 5 in a lot of our productions. It's this game engine that is created by Epic Games. So if anybody knows of like Fortnite, it's the same people that create that. That's the game engine that they made. But yeah, so we use motion capture within the studio. So if like anybody has seen like behind the scenes of like Avatar with like the white dots all over their bodies. That's a lot of what we're doing. And it can be very immersive at the same time as like difficult, because you're basically in this like black box a little bit. You're not in the set, so you mentally have to put yourself in there, and then reading the lines in Cherokee as you are performing. And so I think this is the second season that we have worked with the cast, and seeing them progress from that initial season into now is like fantastic. And they have honestly been doing such a great job like throughout this whole season, and even on what we're currently working on. And so, because we kind of use them a lot in similar motion capture across projects. But after doing the motion capture, we take it into Unreal, we clean up all the animation, we do all of the VFX work, lighting, environment creation. And so that's a lot of what the animation team does up at the Owasso studio. We're a pretty small team, which is really amazing, because I think this entire season we did in only like a couple months, if that. And that's what's really great about this type of content, is that it's really reiterative in a very quick time span. And so like if we get like a note back and we're like, oh, we need to change like this little thing in the environment, or we want to change this into a different color, we can just kind of press a couple buttons and we're like, oh, perfect. It's like magic.
Yeah, so what I like about this process, it's fairly new to me. You know, I've been doing animation for a while. I started off doing stop motion, did a little bit of 3D animation, and did some like motion capture stuff with that. But it's advanced so much since I was doing that, because I spent a lot of time working in the language department in a like an administrator kind of role. So I kind of moved away from it for a while. So I'm glad to be back with it. But it's advanced so much, and like Elise said, you can create content really quickly in this manner, because the motion capture does a lot of the heavy lifting in animation in this process. And using the Unreal Engine, which it is a game engine, you can make video games in it. And if you play a lot of games, you'll see a lot of the motion, full motion moments in it, like in between chapters or whatever. They kind of make, that's what they use to do this, and that's what we're doing it. More for our narrative, of course, but another thing we kind of are exploring is how do we get into the game part of this too, because these assets that are being created, they could be ported over to a game, like in an app or even like a console game or something. So that's an avenue that we're kind of exploring, and how do we get there next? Do you have any other things to add about Let's Talk Cherokee?
Sorry, I feel like I've been put on the spot. Yeah, no, I would just say, like, please go watch it. Like, it's one of our first wins as an animation team and as an animation house. And so, like, I'm super proud and just, like, blown away by, like, what the team has accomplished in such a short time span. And so, like, I just also want to say, like, thank you for all your support in this endeavor.
So the next thing that we're going to show here is another animation. This project is still ongoing. So what you're going to see is a really rough cut. So backstory here is the Cherokee Nation Language Department, has a curriculum department, and the goal is to develop a language curriculum that is culturally sound, and it's based like on through the seasons of the Cherokee year. And so they asked us to do these animations, and most of these animations are traditional stories. They're cosmological stories, a lot of them. There's a handful in this batch that will be more modern stories or even newer stuff, like kind of made up stories too, like a new stories, I guess, instead of all these cosmological traditional stories, but it's a blend of everything. And the goal is to have these stories, these animated stories, ready for the immersion school students so they can watch these in the class. There's going to be a curriculum developed for that, so the teachers at different grade levels can guide their students throughout the year and watch these stories as appropriate. So using a similar process, as Elise alluded to, our team has gotten really good. They're getting better and better on every project that we do. So doing Let's Talk Cherokee, we're wrapping up this current season, and as everything goes, again, everybody's getting much better. And we're using these skills and applying it to this curriculum animation project. We're contracted to do 50 short stories. Sounds like a lot, but Cherokee's got a lot of stories anyway. So we could probably keep doing this for years and years and years because there's so many stories out there. So realistically, we will do 50 shorts, but it may be like 30 stories, for example. So like a longer story, if you're familiar with the Selu and Kanadi story, that's kind of a long story. There's a lot that's happening. So we're animating that story. We're doing the whole thing, and it's going to be divided into parts, like part 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that will constitute 5 out of that 50, basically. Each section is maybe about 3 to 4 or maybe 5 minutes long. Again, we're working really closely with the curriculum team. So we meet with them twice a week, every week. We do check-ins on script, translation. We do creative approvals for the teams to get together and look at all the assets, all the artwork, and just kind of make sure everything is accurate. We're trying to make it culturally and historically accurate too. So we have people like Tanya Weevil, who is a national treasure for fabric and textiles. So she reviews all the clothing and things like that, even the set dressing that's in it that you'll be seeing here. We have an artist, Kelly Gonzalez from the language department. If you're familiar with her, she does some really great artwork. She's been signing off on a lot of the designs and the tattoo work and things like that. So again, we're making sure this is a very culturally sound production because the idea is it's for education, it's for school, it's for these kids here, these students. So we want them to see things that are representative of who we are and who we were too. So what we're going to show here is it's a very rough version. So of Act 1 of Kanadi and Selu No, which means Kanadi and Selu essentially. It's the voices that you hear in it are not the final voice acting. So what we do, this process called ADR, we just go in and replace the voices with other voices. So in the production environment where we're doing motion capture, we're also doing facial capture. So these actors have basically a phone camera in front of them, recording their faces while they say these lines. So the lines that you'll hear, these are the actual the motion capture actors saying the lines. We're going to record some Cherokee speakers and advanced second language learners in these final roles. So what you hear won't be the final, but you'll get an idea of what it's going to look like. The narration is actually by Russell Feeling. Russell is the brother of Durbin Feeling, and Durbin is who this building is named after. I should give a little bit of background there. Durbin Feeling was a Cherokee linguist who did this amazing work for Cherokee language. Without his work, we probably wouldn't be doing a lot of what we're doing today. He laid a lot of that groundwork. That's why the building is named after him. But Russell is his brother. Russell is he's from Locust Grove, Oklahoma, which is where I grew up. So it's kind of cool having him involved in this. He agreed to be the narrator for this project, which is really great too because he comes from a background of he's a minister, so he's got that voice, and it's good to hear that very smooth kind of Cherokee speaking as a narrator on this. So again, we're going to preview the first act of Selu and Kanadi, and keep in mind the models aren't done yet. There's a lot, but it's really cool just to see kind of the progress that we're at. And after that, we'll kind of jump into some questions here.
Còn đâu hết đó cái nào sẽ nó sẽ gợi cho này ha để chỉ nào sẽ lo hi nó để thì ở cái cái lão bộ ở đâu thằng nó cái lão cái sai amayul thì chú vào thật sao đó sti anh nghĩ anh ha cái gợi askaya yêu cái sai yêu quen à in cái lại là yêu ở qua lấy cái sai ở có này để cái nào in cái anh thì gọi yes Das genau oder li dega nagaliska ale da na istiska giga kuhiloska de diutlena daski hawiya na ne egwani uweya na da nela
church gog destinelo herskohik.
A church amaya di du discoi ale a church adinilage adato sege I anashanasha. Ugino uyo nuwana dege I ale ego uweya udaine se I diske I.
Kanadi ele selu na yu unante na na juda lena na achuja na na hawiya chigana galiska selu giga gawuka juda lena he achuja.
Nahiu nahi naski nihis tanesti I nihis daya hi anugitana I aleski naha.
Hoa, iga yani ge hesti.
Squanikti nutrista chakayosk. Trasfukata ne I kistika I. Gohi iga ganenuli. Ginanesti I.
Edota! Dahana! Noji! Tiski yohi! Wifi! Tiski yohi! Wifi! Chuskudai! Nasa!
Udahilge achuja kastode unistu hai. Koni unisinasta nona. Aseno gay hatahi se ale asamadi. Anita leni chuj ditini dohi gesai. Aleni go hila yada tini gesana dahwata ehe iyunadati. Nigo hila nego na anika yerli unadelo hosei. Usa nigidi o da wahi gesa chuja. Ala inage utasahi anosahi.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, again, this is a very rough cut. Lots of edits need to be made and some audio, and we need a lot of stuff, but it's kind of, we're just happy to be able to preview what this kind of project that's going to look like. Some other stories in this series will be a film I've made as 2D animation too, just because the story would call for it. And so we're going to have try to have a really fun take on this, that showcase different styles and bring in other artists to help work on it. And so I'll just ask Elise if you have any more comments on this.
Yeah, so it's really been fun working on this project because it's learning a lot of this, like these traditional Native stories, as well as so much historical context. Because that's a lot of the initial essence of these stories, is making sure that they're historically accurate based on the references and resources that we have. But then also there may be some instances where we kind of have to think as Cherokees of okay, we may not have reference of this. What would we have done? And so those are many questions that we've had to do with either the clothing, working very closely with Tanya, or some of the environments. And so there is a lot of animation that goes into it, but then also doing research, continuing learning about the culture and how to accurately portray it in a manner that will continue to live on, because these animations are going to continue on even past like our lifetime, and that they're really are like archival pieces. They're antiquities of their own right. And so it's a little bit of like a big task to make sure that we get as accurate as possible. But I think for like future generations, it's going to be so integral for future Cherokees. But yeah.
Well, we have about 10 minutes left, so we can do some questions from the audience now.
Hang on, I'm coming. You have to use the microphone.
Thank you for everything you've done. It was really, really great. Being interested in voiceovers and voice acting myself, and knowing how important like tone and inflection are to the Cherokee language, excuse me, how hard is it to add some characterization to the voices when you're doing like the dubbing work or to, you know, sort of add like for the Rings of Power, you know, to make someone, if you're voicing a guy in a tavern versus like Elrond, how hard is it to change up that character's voice without disrupting the flow of the language?
You wanted
That was one of my main concerns. Like, man, because you're used to hearing it in English and like, oh yeah, I can deliver it, you know, angrily in English. But how would I do it in Cherokee, especially since it's my second language and not my first language? So what helped me was having an advanced second language learner or a speaker in there to, I guess, kind of give me a green light on how I'm delivering the line, or tell me to say it differently, and they'll give me a different way or the tone to say it. That's better to where I wouldn't normally say it, if that makes sense. So it's just they're guiding me during those questionable scenes.
Yeah, mine's, sorry, just to kind of piggyback off of hers. It's a very similar process when I'm in the booth. But I always ask, his name's Juked. We give a lot of credit to him. He does a lot for our team. I always ask what part of this word, like what syllable in specific, can I like enunciate or overemphasize a little bit more to bring home like the emotion that I'm supposed to? Because obviously the whole word, like if you say it in a certain way, it's just gonna translate to something differently and stuff like that. So there's just some, it's kind of like a give and take. There's some things you have to sacrifice in terms of like performance. Also maybe some things you might have to sacrifice in terms of language, but everything you try to do just to make sure that the, as I mentioned earlier, like the art and the language side of it is like preserved to the best of your ability. So I just always ask for the, what specific like syllables can I like overemphasize or enunciate more in this line to kind of help bring home that delivery. So yeah.
How many minutes or hours does it take to produce 1 minute of that video? Or days? Just from your standpoint.
It really depends on the skill level of like the talent that we have in the booth. If we have a speaker in there and it's, you know, basically just like monologue stuff, it's not really or dialogue, it's not really stuff that like an action sequence or anything, we can probably get through a minute. Oh man, I can't even say that. It might, we do it by line. That's a lot, I think a little bit easier for me to do. We can probably get a line done in about 5 minutes per line. And I would probably say, give or take, there's maybe, if there's conversation in there, there's probably, I don't know, maybe 10 lines in a minute. And so that's close to about 50 minutes, you know, a scene and stuff like that. So it's a very, there's days where it's a lengthy process and stuff like that, but it also doesn't feel like it when you're working on it as well, is another thing I'd want to add. But I'd probably say, give or take, I don't know, anywhere between, could range from like 30 to 50 minutes, just depending on who we're working with and stuff like that.
Great. I will add that the booth that they're talking about is the size of this section right here. That's how small it is. And they just have a small window and you can't hear anything outside other than what's in your headphones.
I'm just wondering, there's a lot of like different, like in English, different accents and dialects and stuff. How are you guys able to really translate that into Cherokee, and what are the challenges with that?
We don't. No, I'm playing. Yeah. I think we've had a couple people try a British Cherokee accent, but it comes across a little strange. Scottish. I think we had Juke try Scottish one time. But what we do is we kind of embrace the other dialects that these speakers have, that these other learners have. Like if they're from different communities, they'll talk Cherokee a little differently and stuff like that. So we kind of embrace it and we kind of build our own little lore around it, you know, our own little world building and stuff like that. And then there's some ways where like, if what was the word? If one of the lines or if a character like Galadriel talks a certain way, maybe we'll use. I can't use that because your grandmother does such a good job of her translations. But if we have like a translation or a speaker that can give us a translation that would fit that character a little better, kind of like fit maybe elegant a little more, or like maybe fit rough around the edges a little more, we try to find that and use that a little bit more. So we, though we can't necessarily do accents in the language, we kind of like supplement that by finding translations and words that we can like use in those scenes to kind of like help build that character a little bit more and kind of build the world a little more as well.
Yeah, it's kind of neat too, seeing the giant spreadsheets that go in all this, because we have it color coded with the actors who may be able to do this kind of voice or that style. And then like certain, like our director, Sarah, she's kind of found certain people like, so she's like, oh, these guys can do this and all these ladies can do that. And their voices, so we've kind of have this huge map of talent for that kind of thing too.
Sio Dagato Chila. I'm interested in doing stuff like that. I want to go into voice acting and stuff like that. How would I get into voice acting?
Well, basically, Cherokee Film has a talent directory. Are you in that? If you go to their website, cherokee.film, there's a place you can sign up to put your name in this list of. Yeah.
Just a little question for the voice actors up there. If there's a movie, TV show, or game you would love to dub or kind of work on, what would it be?
Don't ask Roy that. He's in all of them.
I would love to do. Oh man, there's so many. Because I'm a big anime nerd, and so there's so many choices there. I think Attack on Titan would be a pretty cool one. Yeah, it's a lot of things. I think I feel like any of like the animated like Justice League stuff would be really cool because I grew up on that. What's another one? Full Metal Alchemist is also another one of my personal favorites, so I think I'd like to see that one. I have so many else I could list off, but I don't want to hog the stage time. So yeah, I think about that question a lot though.
That's good. I grew up watching Sailor Moon, so I'm a big Sailor Moon fan. And Studio Ghibli, I love Spirited Away. And I'm a Disney nerd, so I really love Little Mermaid. So those are the main ones, and scary, like a scary movie. I really want us to do a scary movie.
Do you want to be Princess Mononoke?
Oh, yes.
Thank y'all so much for being with us today and hosting this panel for us. I'm really curious to know about caption files. As someone who is part of the Little D community, when we were watching all of the excerpts, we had English captions, which is probably what a majority of us need. But I'm really curious to know if captions are also being produced in Cherokee, so that language learners can sort of like match up what they're hearing with the actual words.
Yeah, on the Rings of Power, we're in the middle of getting the Amazon streaming player to support Cherokee language. So by that, I mean the subtitling things in syllabary and phonetics. So eventually the goal is, once they abuse on the player, you'll have the option to go in and switch out the language subtitles so you can view it in English, you can view it in syllabary, you can view it in phonetics, you can view it in a literal translation too. So it's like word for word. That process is still underway, so it's not quite there yet, but that is the goal.
You guys okay? Okay.
Got 2 minutes.
We do have a celebrity in the audience. We have Jennifer Lawrence' daughter and her mom are both here. So, the executive director of Cherokee Film, Jennifer Lawrence. Anyone else? Okay, well, Wado to everyone. Let's give them a big Wado round of applause.